What's going on, my friends? I'm Rolando, the board dad.
Mm-hmm. Pish posh.
Aren't you supposed to, say who you are?
And who art thou?
Oh, gosh. I am the board dad, and you are?
Thy art the furred of Reddith, the reddith of fur, the reddest furred in all the land, the furriest of the reds.
Okay, so I think you're talking this way because we are going to review
Up,
Castleshire.
up, up, blasphemy.
We we are going to talk today about Castleshire, which is
Mm-hmm.
a game published by Cheap Sheep Games.
Oh, yes.
Yes, this is a
Mm-hmm.
prototype. It's going to be on Kickstarter unless you're watching this while the Kickstarter is already going.
Oh, stop it.
And I'll put the links in the description below so you can check it out. We were sent this prototype for review, so thank you to Cheap Sheep Games.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're wondering,
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking at the back of the box here. Castleshire, you're building chambers of castles.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Yes.
So you are builders, and you're trying to gain more and more fame. This is a bluffing game.
Oh, I love lying. I mean, altering the truth. I can't do this accent anymore.
No?
No.
I thought you were going to keep it up throughout the whole thing.
Oh, I can if you want, but I don't sound like myself.
You know,
I'm also sick.
Cheap Sheep Games is a big fan of Redford. So there's a lot of pressure on you here.
And you're telling me this while I'm sick. Can you not hear my voice?
You're not sick.
I'm sick. I sound different.
You're growing up.
I'm not. Chief, I'm 2,000 years old and you're telling me my voice is better.
All right, this is not about Redford. This is about Castleshire.
No.
Where you're going to build castles.
Yes.
And you're going to bluff your way to being the most famous builder in the land.
Indubitably.
All right, so let's take a look at Castleshire, how it plays, and then we'll come back and we'll give you our thoughts.
Indubitably.
Done?
Cheerio.
All right, so here we have Castleshire. What I'm showing here is the core game with one exception, the cloth mat. So the game comes in 3 editions. And again, I want to say this is all prototype components. So please go to the Kickstarter campaign page so you can see the details of what each edition includes. But there are 3 editions. There's a core edition, then there's a Beyond the Realm expansion, and then there's also the Legendary edition. And so this cloth mat, I believe, comes in the Beyond the Realm expansion. Without it, the core game has cards that lay out in this specific way, and it looks like this. All right, so now we come back magically to the cloth edition of the board. And these here are called certifiers. And in the core game, they're just used to track your fame around the board here. Those are the victory points in the game. And then here we have our workers, and then here we have our assignment cards. And these assignment cards are identical decks. They are cards numbered 1 through 12 in different colors. So let's see how the game works. So at the beginning of each building round, there is a phase called the tender phase. And that's just gonna determine how the game is gonna start. So basically what you're gonna be doing in this game is you're gonna be building these different chambers of these towers until you get to number 12. Whoever builds on number 12, that ends the round, and then you score points. So at the beginning of the round, both players, or I'm saying both because this is a 2-player game here, but the players will choose a card from their hand, and they will not announce the card that they're choosing. So let's say I choose that one, and let's say this one chooses this one, okay? So now the rules say that whoever has the most ceremonial voice will count down from 12 to 1. And then whenever the number that you chose is announced first, then that person places their card on the tower. So you would go 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7. Okay, so 7 got called out first. So if you are this player, you will put your card in that chamber face up, and then you will place one of your workers on the card. The other players simply return their cards to their deck. Workers on chambers is the way you're going to score victory points at the end of the round. So you want to have ideally all your workers on here, if at all possible. Then we move on to the build phase. So the next player in turn order will take their cards and they are going to choose a card from their hand in order to build. Now, one important thing is once this chamber is determined, you cannot build on any of these lower chambers. You must always build above whatever is on here. So in this case, a 7. So I can only build on chambers 8 through 12. And whenever somebody builds on 12, well, this building round ends and we tally up the points. So that doesn't mean you can't play a number lower than 7. In this case, for example, this is a bluffing game. So let me give you an example. Let's say I wanted to build a 9. So I would take this card and I would place it face down on the number 9 chamber. And then I would place one of my workers on it. And that's the end of my turn. Unless my opponents want to challenge me. They might want to challenge that indeed is a 9. So everyone that wants to challenge, yells out challenge. And then in this case, it's just a 2-player game. So whoever's challenging is going to put one of their workers on that chamber. Now I reveal it. And lo and behold, it is indeed a 9. So unfortunately, the green player lost the challenge. And because I won the challenge, or the yellow player won the challenge, the yellow player gets to place another of their workers in that chamber. And the green player has to return all of their workers back to their supply as a penalty for challenging incorrectly or for losing the challenge. And again, the goal of the game is to have, as many workers out here as possible. So you want to be real careful when you're challenging someone. Okay, so let's rewind here. All right, let's say that I didn't play a 9. Let's say I played a 5 and I played it here in this chamber, the same chamber, number 9. So again, the yellow would place a worker there. And if it goes unchallenged, then it goes to the green player and, they play a card. But let's say the green player was challenging this. So they would place a worker there. Now the yellow player has to reveal the chamber and it's a 5. So in this case, the yellow player would have to return his workers or his worker to the supply. Just the one on that challenge card. And the green player gets to keep the worker he used to challenge on there. And then it goes back to the green player. And again, you just keep taking turns doing this, So then the green player looks through their cards and they're like, okay, well, I want to play this 10, which I can do. I want to play it here. And then they would put a worker on their card. Let's say the yellow player doesn't challenge this. And that's the end of the green player's turn. Now the yellow player goes and let's say they're going to build right here. Now the yellow player could say, you know what, I'm going to build on 12 and basically end the game. However, they have no workers out on the board, so they don't want to do that just yet, right? So they might want to try and play a little mind game with the green player and perhaps, play an 11 on the 11 or play something else like this too on the 11 and hope that the green player doesn't challenge. So let's just say that I was being honest and I am going to play an 11 and this goes there. And now the green player's turn. Let's say the green player's for some reason wants to be sneaky and they put this one on number 12 and they put their worker there. And now the yellow player says challenge. And so they put their worker here. This gets revealed and it's a 1. So the green player gets to send their worker back and the yellow player keeps their worker there. Okay. And that's the end of this round because somebody built on chamber number 12. So now we go to scoring. Scoring is very simple in the core game. You simply score 1 fame for each worker that's out here. So in this case, the green would score 3 and the yellow would score 2. And then you get 1 fame for the most valuable chamber, which means if you have a worker on the highest number correct or secret chamber, you get this 1 bonus point. So in this case, the highest chamber is actually this one, but it's not correct, right? Because of what happened here. So the highest correct or secret chamber would be this one. This is the secret chamber when it's the back of the card. So in this case, yellow would get the bonus point. And guess what? Now they're tied. So yellow didn't have the greatest round, but that bonus point catches them up. Now at this point in the game, if any player has no assignment cards left, the game actually ends. But after the first round, everybody's going to have assignment cards left. So what you do is you take all the workers back, and these cards all get removed and they go to a discard pile. So as you can see, as the game progresses, you are going to have less and less assignment cards, and it will also limit where you're going to build, and it will also increase the amount of mind games you're going to be playing as you both try to figure out if you're building correctly or you're building incorrectly, and whether you decide to challenge or not challenge. So that is Castleshire at its core. But there's more. And this is where the game really, really, really shines. So there are several modular parts to this that you can add, and it really brings the game to life. Let me show you. First, we have the Resident Allies expansion, and these are these cards that you'll draw at the end of a round, and you use them whenever it suits your strategy. So they add things like, for example, this one, you can build a chamber in any unbuilt location, even those that are below the highest built chamber. This other one lets you play another turn. This one here forces a player to challenge another player's just built secret chamber. So you can force someone else that doesn't want to do a challenge to do a challenge. So it introduces some more strategy into the game. The next expansion is basically just a rules adjustment, which is called having rests. All this does is when you return your workers, either because you lost a challenge or at the end of a round, instead of them going back to your supply, they go back to a rest area. And then they become available at the end of the following round. So you're going to have less workers to deal with. You play another round. At the end of the round, then these workers come back to your supply. Then there's the Vagabond expansion, which adds these 3 Vagabonds to the ally deck, which I showed earlier, right? That has the residents. So you add these Vagabonds to that deck, and when you draw them, you put them in front of you and you draw another ally. And then at any point after somebody else's turn or your turn, you can play one of these Vagabonds and do what it says. And then they pass along to another player. Whoever has the Vagabond or Vagabonds in front of them at the end of the round gets to score extra fame. Then here we have 2 more card expansions. These are the Legend cards and the Outsider cards. Again, these all get mixed in with your existing ally deck if you wanted to add them to the Residents and the Vagabonds. And they add even more options and abilities to the game. Also, there are these, there's the Witty Guilds expansion, which add these really neat looking guild books to the game. So these are just a few. There's more. There's barbers, constables, gypsies, ditchers, bailiffs. And so what you do is each player will have one of these, and then you're going to open it up. Look at that. How cool is that, right? And it gives you a different setup depending on the guild that you chose. There's also a skill assigned to each guild, And then there is room here where you can, and this, I imagine this will be better in the final version. But for example, it tells you, right, that you are going to take, in a 2-player game, 6 workers. So you actually have room here. And again, in the final version, the workers will probably fit in here, right? But you can put your workers here and your certifiers, depending on how many you have. And so it's just a neat little thematic way of introducing these asynchronous abilities for each player. So that's pretty cool. And there's other expansions, which I'm not going to go over, but if you notice here in the rule book, it lists 10 different expansions. And depending on the edition that you get, you'll be able to incorporate some of these. The ones I haven't gone over, there's one called Exploration, there's one called Premium Certification, there's another one called Conquerors. So there's a lot of content for Castleshire. And in case I didn't mention it before, the game ends whenever any player has run out of assignment cards. Then you don't go to the next build, you just simply go to final scoring. As long as everyone has assignment cards left, you always go to build another castle. The winner gets this little nifty victory card and is considered the most famous builder in the land. Also, there are some adjustments you can make to have the game be a little more friendly to younger players. And that's Castleshire.
Master.
Uh-huh.
That overview was so long, it's tea time already.
I think your accent changed again.
I can't tell if I'm supposed to be Australian,
Yeah,
New Zealand,
I don't even think it's the right era, to tell you the truth.
British.
Yeah.
What do British people like?
All right, so what do we think about Castleshire?
I don't know.
Well, first of all, the production on the game is
Top
really good.
Notch.
Yeah, I mean, this box is actually a book. See?
No way.
It is. Look, I'm going to open it up here without stuff falling out.
Is the box the rule book?
No, that's Monop. But that's another game. No. Other games, like family games, tend to put the rules on the box. Not this one though. But the box is a book.
Oh.
How cool is that? Look at that. And I believe the the more expensive edition of the game comes with a really cool wooden box.
Oh.
Yeah, but again, don't take my word for it. Check out the Kickstarter
Yeah,
campaign.
go kick it.
Yeah, okay. So what did we like about this game?
Nothing. I mean, sorry, wrong game. I thought we were reviewing the other game.
Oh,
You know, the
Which one?
What was it called?
Which one?
The one with the family game where the box is the rule book.
Oh, sorry?
No, not that one.
Manob?
Oh!
Okay, no.
Ugh. That one.
All right, so like I said, the art and the components in the game are really, really nice. The cards themselves, the art on the cards, it's not...
Be very careful what you say here.
It's not earth-shattering.
The cheap sheep will come and beat.
But it's really nice. The cloth mat for the game, I think is worth it. I'll tell you why, because even though the basic game comes with the cards, that are the castle, they move around, especially if your table's a little slippery. So
yeah.
when you put cards on top, they're going to shift, and that's not going to happen with the cloth.
I use fur tables.
The rest of the wooden components, very, very cool. The little guild books, I love them.
Oh yeah.
And there's a ton of them. So that's really, really nice. The gameplay itself is a lot of fun. This is one of those games that when you say it's a bluffing game and you kind of describe it,
You're lying.
well, you don't get the full experience until you actually sit down and play. And that might seem like, well, that's with every game. Yeah, but once you start playing it, you start seeing how fun it is to try and, fake out your opponents, right? Because based on how good you are at that, that's how many, points you're going to score.
Plot twist. What if we were bluffing this entire review?
What if?
We're fired. No more games from Expensive Lamb.
Expensive land?
Lamb.
Lamb? Oh, cheap sheep. I get it.
Get what?
the cheap joke.
Cheap joke. I didn't even make a joke, but if it was a joke, I would have put a lot of hard work and time into that. So I am highly and deeply appalled.
Oh, I missed.
Yeah, you missed badly.
I was supposed to go
I
like
don't.
that.
Oh, I don't have elbows, but I can do.
As the game progresses and you start discarding, some of those assignment cards, it gets more and more interesting to try and figure out who's bluffing and who's not.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a pretty neat little, piece of the game. Also, although the little expansions are optional, if you can play with all of them, you get the full effect.
No way.
The full effect of the game. Now, you may not want to start by playing all of them, and they're all pretty easy to integrate into the game. I mean, the rule book is pretty clear on how to do it, and once you start playing with them, it'll all make sense, and each one makes the game that much better.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't think there was one expansion that I felt like I didn't really think, fit the game. I think they all have a good place in the game, and I think they all make the game just that much more interesting. Now, what the expansions do,
Yeah, that was wombat combat.
what the expansions do,
Mm.
they do add some complexity.
Right.
Okay, so the base game itself, the core game, is
Uh-huh.
very easy, very
Yeah.
straightforward.
Yeah.
It's a good way to learn the game
Uh-huh.
and to introduce new players.
Right.
But yes, each expansion will add complexity to the game. And so go slowly, but in the end, try to include as many of them as you can. Now, this is one of those games that I think the more players, the better.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you agree?
Right.
Yeah, it doesn't work solo.
No.
Can you imagine bluffing solo?
I do that to myself.
Can you give me an example?
You're great.
So yeah, the higher the player count, I think the better the game is because again, everybody's bluffing each other, everybody's trying to fake each other out, and that in the end, is half the fun of the game.
This is great for people with trust issues. Great game.
As far as being replayable, highly replayable. The expansions make it that way as well because you can include or remove as many as you want, and the game is always going to be different. You're always going to have different cards. The way each round starts as well, you don't know which level of the towers you're going to be starting in, and so that makes it dynamic. Even within the same game, every castle is going to be different. So as far as replayability, don't even worry about it. You're going to get a lot out of this game.
Oh, yeah. What are we reviewing again? Castlevania?
Did you even play this?
No.
Look in the camera and tell Cheap Sheep Games if you played this or not.
I play all of the games we review.
You have a tell.
I'm not bluffing. I'm not bluffing.
Look at Cheap Sheep Games and tell them you're not bluffing.
I'm not bluffing. Mm-hmm.
All right, yeah, so check out the campaign page for Castleshire.
Go kick it.
Let us know in the comments if you have any questions.
Yeah.
As always, if you enjoy this content,
Like, comment, subscribe, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok.
excellent Redford, as always.
Of course.
And there it is.
What?
Nothing.
Nothing?
That's all we got for Castleshire. Thank you to Cheap Sheet Games for sending us this prototype copy. And again, look, it's a little book. So that is really, really cool. All right, that's it, Redford. That's all we got.
That's it.
We'll see you
In the
next one.
Oh, Chief, it was a pleasure trying to review Castlevania. This is, after all, the latest obsession. I don't know how old this game is. Did you polish this? Wax on, wax off?
Hey, the book has more than one purpose.